So as you guys know, another Saturday, another college football video for the Georgia Bulldogs. And of course, today they go against the Tennessee Volunteers at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This should be a great game. I feel like Tennessee is more than a worthy opponent. They're coming off of a win against the number 18, the ranked team in the country at the time, Kentucky. So it's definitely going to be an interesting game. Now, of course, before I get into this video, make sure to like and subscribe, turn on that notification bell, help me out a little bit. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now, of course, starting off with Georgia, they are coming off a huge win versus Missouri in which they won 43-6, absolutely destroyed them. Missouri was left with a backup quarterback with their starter being out for that game. Georgia won that game fairly easily. Let's just be honest. They absolutely destroyed them. It was really fortunate that Missouri actually managed to score that game. However, it's still a destruction. I mean, Georgia did their job. They, I believe, covered the spread, so they did really good. Now, of course, with a little outlook and insight, Georgia is currently still undefeated, sitting at 9-0, and they are the number one team in the entirety of the nation in all of the polls. The coaches poll, AP poll, and also the college football playoff poll. Now, of course, going to the quarterback situation, the QB spot is still in a little bit of question. However, JT did play, and by JT I mean JT Daniels, did play a little bit at the end of that last game against Missouri. So I would expect him to start this game. However, Kirby Smart said that he has confidence in all of his quarterbacks. I would expect JT to start, but I would not count out the option of the quarterback position still being a little bit open, with Stetson Bennett playing pretty well last game and playing fairly well over the last couple of weeks. He's been doing his job. Now, of course, Stetson Bennett is 80 for 120 with 1,412 yards, 14 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions on the year. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. He's ran Georgia's offense very well. However, JT Daniels has had a very impressive season, especially considering the low amount of snaps he's played. He's 61 for 82 for 649 yards, 6 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. So both quarterbacks have definitely played really great this season. Now, going from the quarterbacks to the offense, Georgia and their offense is not really talked about as much as their defense. However, they probably should be, because they're still one of the elite offenses in all of college football. They allow 38 points per game. Their offense also gains 190 rushing yards and 240 passing yards per game. This Georgia offense is absolutely a unit. I mean, their defense does take most of the crown. Let's just be honest. When you hear Georgia utter out of my mouth, you think, oh, their defense is really good. However, an offense that scores 38 points per game against the level of opponents that Georgia has to go against, including maybe Kentucky, who was once a top 10 team, borderline top 10 team. Of course, you had Arkansas, who was once the number 8 team, and Georgia dropping 30-plus points on both of those teams. This is an elite offense, people, and while the defense takes most of the cake and most of the cookie, or whatever you want to call it, that offense is definitely worth noticing and definitely worth to be recognized. Now, of course, Georgia, going to their defense, they obviously have one of the best defenses in my opinion, in college football history. I mean, they allow 6.6 points per game and just over 230 total yards per game, which are first and second in college football for the entirety of the season. Man, this Georgia team is absolutely ridiculous, and this defense has really impressed me the whole way through. I did not expect Georgia's defense to only be allowing 6.6 points per game. This is not only one of the best defenses that I've seen, this might be one of the best defenses in the entirety of college football history, as I said, and man, it's just going to get more and more impressive. I feel like Georgia's defense is absolutely amazing. I feel like it's one of the best defenses ever assembled, and I feel like Kirby Smart has done a great job coaching them. Now, going to the one thing that can hold Georgia back. Now, before I say this, anybody want to take a guess? No? Well, it's injuries. Georgia's injuries are the only thing that's going to hold them back. Kendall Milton's going to be out. George Pickens, out. Justin Robinson is questionable. Adam Anderson, his off-the-field issue and his finger, we hope that stuff gets resolved. However, he's going to be out. Arian Smith broke his leg in practice, so he's going to be out for the season. Very bad news. Jamari Saylor is going to be questionable with a foot issue. Warren McClendon, upper body issue, is going to be questionable. Jalen Kimber, Dominic Blaylock, Tate Ratledge, Tyke Smith, and Ryan Davis are all out with injury issues. Injuries and off-the-field issues for Georgia going into this week. I really feel like most of these injuries are going to be resolved. This is not really against Tennessee. Tennessee is definitely a worthy opponent, but it's a game where we're expected to win, so I wouldn't be panicking too much about the injuries. However, Georgia has lost 2 of their starting offensive linemen, so it's going to be really, really tough. I mean, you need, and when I say you need to fill in those roles really, really well, because I'm telling you, if you let Tennessee score, and if your offense can't score, then it's going to be a really rough game against this Tennessee team. Now, of course, speaking of the Tennessee team, we're going to get to them. They're coming off of a great win against what was once ranked number 18 Kentucky, 45-42. I'm telling you, this Tennessee offense can score, and I'm going to get more into it later. However, going into Tennessee's outlook, they are currently unranked. They have not been ranked all season, but they are sitting at a pretty respectable 5-4 record. Really, really good. Quarterback Hendon Hooker is having an amazing season so far. He is 129 for 186, 1,894 yards for 21 touchdowns on only 2 interceptions. That's pretty much better than both of the Georgia quarterbacks combined this season. Hendon Hooker is also the second leading rusher on his team with 457 rushing yards. So this is the definition of a dual threat quarterback, and he has the opportunity to give Georgia some real headaches heading into this game. Now, of course, Tennessee has quietly, been one of the best offensive teams in the entirety of the nation. They allow 38 points per game, just like Georgia does. They average 217. Yeah, you heard that correct. 217 rushing yards per game and 240 passing yards per game. And yardage-wise, this offense is actually better than Georgia's offense. So I'm telling you, this Tennessee offense, they're worthy of your attention. You better pay attention to them, because if you don't, they're going to carve you up. They're going to make you make mistakes. They're going to give you headaches the entire game. You need to respect this Tennessee team. However, the Tennessee defense, it's been pretty rough. Not quite as bad as Mizzou's was last week, but they do allow 28 points per game with an alarming 153 rushing yards, along with 264 passing yards per game. And a fun fact, that 264 passing yards that Tennessee's defense allows is actually worse. It's actually more. They allow more passing yards than Georgia's defense allows total yards. So that should just, give you an idea on how dominant this Georgia defense has been the entirety of the year. I mean, that's an insane statistic if you ask me. However, Georgia's defense, they've been great. However, Tennessee's defense, they've been very questionable. 28 points, 153 rushing yards allowed, especially going against Georgia. Allowing all those rushing yards is pretty much not what you want to do. It's pretty much the opposite of what you want to do. And of course, that 264 passing yards is also a tough thing as well. Now, going to the injury report, Tennessee's injury report has surprisingly not been that bad. I mean, Kingston Harris, Lyneth Whitehead, Christian Charles, and of course, Jawan Mitchell, they're all out/questionable. Christian Charles actually questionable with a labrum issue. However, all these players, they are starters, yes, but it's only 4 injuries. It's not as bad as Georgia. So Tennessee has done a really great job keeping healthy this year when it comes to their players. Now, of course, going to keys to winning the game. We're going to start off with, of course, my Georgia Bulldogs. Number 1, they have to contain Hendon Hooker / Tennessee's quarterback. He's a dual threat. You're going to have to bring pressure. You're going to have to get him out of whack, get him out of rhythm, and keeping him in the pocket is giving you your best chance. When he gets out of the pocket, he's really dangerous. He can definitely give some teams issues. Georgia is definitely going to have to contain Tennessee's quarterback. Number 2, Georgia's going to have to force some turnovers. Ole Miss and Alabama are 2 teams that beat Tennessee, and they have both forced 1 or more turnovers. Hendon Hooker only has 2 interceptions the entire season. You're going to need to stop Tennessee from advancing the ball downfield by making them make mistakes. You're going to need to force turnovers. You're going to need to force fumbles. You have to do it if you're Georgia, because the Tennessee offense is definitely dangerous. And of course, number 3 is getting the quarterback back into form. Now, this is assuming that JT Daniels will be the one starting. However, you also see that over the last couple of weeks, Stetson Bennett has been struggling too. So I think Georgia needs to get their quarterbacks back into form. And I think as they do that, this team is just going to be that much better. And I think that is really important, considering they're going to have to keep up with a Tennessee offense that has the potential of being very dangerous. Now, for Tennessee, they're going to have to use their weapons. Tennessee has a super dual threat quarterback in Hendon Hooker, 2 running backs with over 500 yards. Those guys are Tyon Evans. And, of course, nearly 400 yards again. That's going to be Jabari Small. So, both of those guys are absolutely ridiculous. That's two running backs, with nearly 500 yards. That's pretty insane. And, of course, they have 2 receivers with over 500 yards as well, in Velus Jones Jr. and Cedric Tillman. All of those guys are going to have huge games. Tennessee's going to have to use their weapons against Georgia's defense and force Georgia's defense to make some adjustments mid-game. And then, of course, number 2 is try your best to contain Georgia's offense. With Georgia's defense being so good, you're not going to drive down the field every time and score. It's not going to happen. Tennessee's defense is going to have to step up this game and contain Georgia's offense to the point to which Tennessee's offense can get going and score, if that makes sense. You're going to have to contain Georgia's offense because I'm telling you, if Georgia's offense having a great game, their defense is not going to budge. Their defense is not going to allow you to score more than 21, 28 points, really 6 points to be honest with you. But Tennessee's offense is really good, so I'm giving them a threshold of 20. Yeah, you're going to have to hold Georgia's offense in order to have a chance at competition. And number 3, Tennessee needs to rush the quarterback. Georgia could have Jamari Sailor, and Warren McClendon and Tate Ratledge all missing, and 2 of those linemen could be All-American level linemen. Tennessee has to take advantage of this. They're going to have to rush the quarterbacks. They're going to have to stop the run. That's pretty much the gist of everything. They're going to have to rush the QB and stop the run. If Tennessee does that, it's going to make it 10 times harder for Georgia's offense, and it's going to make it 10 times easier for their defense and their offense, as well as their offense will be able to get on the field more. And now, of course, going to the score prediction, I have Georgia winning this game 45-14. Let's be honest. There are not a lot of teams that can compete with this Georgia team as of right now. And I do think Tennessee is going to score, has a chance to score 14 or 21 points because their offense is just that good. However, I don't think they're going to beat Georgia. A lot of people say that it can be an upset, and I'm not detracting that idea. I do think it could possibly be an upset, but I think Georgia's too good this year. I think their defense is elite. I think their offense is going to be much, much better considering that JT Daniels is expected to come back into this game and start. So I think it's going to be a fairly good game up to a certain point in the first quarter, and then I think Georgia's going to pull away. However, that's going to be it for the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, turn on that notification bell, help me out a little bit. And of course, links in the description, TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, all of those. Please follow those. Of course, whether you do or whether you don't, I wish that you have a blessed day. Stay loved, stay blessed. And without further ado, I'm going to end this video. Thank you for watching.
Wanna be rappers brag about already being the best. I respect many people for the job they've done. Haters full of jealousy is what I like especially. I like a lot of funky man that lack finesse.